So we've been able to give approximately $90,000 out to farms over the years um, through these 6 years of the program. And we're excited to see that continue forward this year. So we're really looking forward to hearing your ideas about possible projects. So for an overview just of what we're going to do this session, we're going to do introductions in a moment. We are going to go over the grant program in general. We're going to try to go through that relatively quickly just to give you a sense of it so we can have time at the end to dig into any of your projects and answer your questions specifically. So let's get started with introductions and see who's here with us today. So we'd love to just sort of do a popcorn thing to have you introduce yourself, sort of where, if you're with an organization or a farm, what the name of that is, what town you're in, how you heard about this program, but really, if you could focus on what you're interested in getting out of today's information session, so we make sure we answer your questions, that'd be super. So I'm gonna hand it over to Benet to get us started with the introductions.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Benet Hershon, and I'm the Outreach Coordinator at CCCD. Yeah, and I'm really excited to be here, and I'm excited to hear more about the grant and why everyone's interested in this opportunity.
Michael, could you?
Oh, sorry.
Michael, would you be able to go next?
Sorry about that. That darn mute button. My name is Michael Faber. I'm with the Monadnock Food Co-op, and yeah, I too am here just to learn about some of the interested applicants and some of the potential projects, and see if there's any way I can help.
Thanks, Michael. All right, looks like we've got Tom Hasselman. Hi, Tom.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Oh, keeping busy. Well, I'm Tom Hasselman. I have Iron Kettle Farm in Walpole, New Hampshire, in Cheshire County. We're raising pork, beef, goat, and lamb, and eggs, turkeys, all that kind of fun kind of stuff, and maple syrup. So we're kind of looking at the process, what we have to do, because our biggest holdback right now is we need more cold storage and freezer space to up our products. So that's why we're here.
Great. That is, Tom, that is something that a lot of farms have utilized this program for, is to expand that type of on-farm infrastructure for cold storage, freezer space. So be happy to answer questions as we go through about that.
I mean, this year alone will.
All right, Casey, can we turn it over to you?
Sure. Hi, my name is Casey Gilbay. Me and my husband just started a small farm called Smoky Valley Farm. We are just getting started, so there's a lot of different projects that I'm interested to hear, if they qualify for the grant. I think my biggest question though is on location. So we're actually located in a small town called Springfield, New Hampshire. So I don't know if that's considered one of your abutting towns or not. So that may sort of, I figured this would be the quickest way to get an answer to that. So that's kind of my big question on this call.
Great. Thanks, Casey. All right, Zena? Zini, thank you. Sorry.
Hi, I'm Zinnia Ghoul. I'm the produce assistant manager at the Monadnock Food Co-op. Newly represented, a staff representative, so I'm learning, but I do know previously about the farm fund, but I'm happy to be a part.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Jeannie. Tom, I think I cut you off there earlier when I was passing along the baton for the introductions. Was there something else that you wanted to add?
Well, I was just gonna say this year we're on track to produce about 10,000 pounds of meat.
Wow, that's excellent. You guys have really grown a lot.
Yeah, it's getting bigger and bigger.
All right, so now now that we've done some introductions, I have a sense of sort of where things are at, your questions, what you want to learn more about. We're going to just jump into an overview. I would encourage you to interrupt me and ask questions if you have anything as we go along. And then at the end, we're going to just open it up. We'll stop the screen share and we can dig into individual projects as well. All right. So we kind of just do an overview of what is the Farm Fund. And I'll just say in a nutshell, we want to help farmers expand their production for wholesale markets. So we really want to see farmers who are participating in this want to have a component where they're selling wholesale, so they have a diversified markets that they're selling to. And we really want to work with farmers who want to grow, who want to enhance their profitability, and who want to enhance their production. So this gets to your question, Casey. Eligible farms. So eligibility. Cheshire County and abutting towns are who we work with. And so if you take a look at the map here of New Hampshire, if your town is on the border of Cheshire County, then you're eligible. And so, for example, like towns of Peterborough, Ackworth, the ones that are all right along the edges of the county. Casey, you said, what town did you say you're in? Springfield?
Yeah, we are. So we don't abut Cheshire County. We're not like on the border. We're like a town or so away, or a couple towns away. So that probably disqualifies us then. But I wanted to check just in case.
No, I'm really glad that you did. I'm sorry, but based on the current eligibility of the way that it's set up, it is really for Cheshire County and abutting towns. And the goal of that is really to try to support growth in the agricultural community as close to the food co-op in the region as possible. And so I appreciate your interest in this, but I'm sorry, basically on the eligibility right now, that's the way that it is set up.
No problem. Well, thanks for your time. Please don't be offended if I scoot out, but thanks so much.
No worries. Yeah, thank you, and good luck with your farm. So another thing that for eligibility, I just want to touch on, that you want to have that your farm business has been in operation for at least 1 year. You want to be able to have ownership of the land on which it's on, or have a secure lease. We realize a lot of farms don't own the land they're operating on. So I just want to ensure that if we're going to be investing in a farm and their infrastructure and equipment, that they are secure to continue to be in business in the future. That's why that's part of the eligibility. And of course, in compliance with all applicable federal, state, and local regulations. I think that probably goes without saying, but important to just mention. And if you're working on any type of government land, or if it's owned by someone other than the farmer, we would just want to have signed consent from whoever owns that property that they're aware and supportive of the work that you're proposing. So next up, we have eligible projects. And what this is these are the ones that we see as being a shoo-in, good fit for this. And if you have a project that's might not fit exactly into these boxes, doesn't mean that it's not eligible, but we would encourage you to reach out and talk to us before applying. So eligible projects include, food safety, planning and infrastructure, equipment for food production to help make it efficient and sustainable. And that equipment can be for harvesting as well. Food storage infrastructure. Tom, that sort of goes to what you're interested in, and that's a really important piece of on-the-farm infrastructure. Also, equipment for value-added food production. We have funded these projects in the past. Say perhaps you're a dairy farmer and you're making yogurts or puddings, and you need to invest in that equipment. That is a great fit for this. Packaging and labeling development, including the design of logos. So any of that type of marketing development is eligible. And then this was one that hasn't really been taken advantage of yet through this process, but one I want to definitely highlight is that we can help provide a cost share for technical assistance, for business and financial planning, for growth. And that can be through a provider like the New Hampshire Community Loan Fund or others that we would want to make sure that they're, reputable provider and can get you the help that you want and have experience working with farm businesses and all the challenges that farm businesses face. So that's definitely something, if you're interested in, to reach out to us about, because there's often a lot of need for sort of that financial planning and sort of looking at the long range for the farm. So what's not eligible? Staff time for farmers is not something that we are encouraging people to apply for. It's not eligible. Advertising dollars, and you might be wondering, well, what's the difference between the marketing and the advertising? Like we're excited to help you get like logos and get sort of those really important foundations for marketing in place. But advertising is almost one of those sort of disposable things, right? It kind of happens once. You put it in the newspaper or the radio or wherever the market is that you're utilizing, and then it's gone. And so we really don't want to be focusing dollars on advertising. We'd rather sort of get you set up for success to do the advertising on your own budget. Research and feasibility studies are not eligible. Basically anything that if you are doing it and it does not help you lead to increased production and increase wholesale sales, then it's probably not a good fit. We really want to see this help you grow and help you become more profitable. Another thing, day-to-day operational costs, seeds, fertilizer, that type of thing. Those are things that would be sort of like the run-of-the-mill, just need it for your operation, your business. That's not what we're looking to fund. We're really looking to leverage these, like kind of like give you that step up to that next level through this program. So where's the priority? I think I've said this a couple times already, but worth saying again, increasing your profitability, increasing your efficiency as well, in developing and expanding production for wholesale markets. So if you're not currently doing wholesale sales, it doesn't mean you're not eligible. You could be utilizing these funds to get you in a place where you're developing that capacity for your farm. You're getting ready to be doing that. But it's definitely, if you're not already working with wholesale buyers, I think it's really important throughout the grant narrative to demonstrate that there is market demand for your product and that you have a market set up, right? Have you already talked to buyers? Do you have a plan for where this additional production is going to go? Because we don't want growers and producers to be spinning their wheels, producing more, and then not have a plan for how they're going to sell and market that product. We just want to make sure also this last line here is just efficient use of the funds. So what do we have available for funding this year? We've got about $30,000 available for this grant round. We will have a final amount in the next couple months before the grants are awarded, but that's about what we're looking to be providing out to the farms. Awards that we want to be giving range pretty good. So $500 to $10,000. We definitely encourage people, if they have a small project, don't think, oh, it's too small, it's not worth applying. If it's $1,000 project and it could help you grow your business, we really do encourage you to apply for that. and have them up to $10,000. If your project is greater than that, if you have a $20,000 piece of equipment that you want to be purchasing, that's great. You can still apply. You just have to have a plan for how you're going to come up with the rest of the funding. So we'll get into that a little bit more in the budget section, but we don't want to limit anybody. We've had farmers apply for this and they had $100,000 projects, and those were selected for funding. Even though this was a small part of it, it was still an important piece for them to sort of put together sort of the funding stacks and to see how it could really work for their farm. All right, and this is a reimbursement grant with the funding. So farmers are asked to, when they work on their projects, to save all of their invoices and their receipts and do a really good job of tracking, so we can reimburse you for the full amount that you're awarded. Now, being a reimbursement grant, so you send in those invoices and receipts at your final report. When you do your final report at the end of your project, and we send you the dollars back for them. That can be prohibitive for folks sometimes, because capital is hard to come by to have up front to make a project successful. So I do want to share that if you are interested in a project but wouldn't be able to have the capital all up front, we're willing to work with you on that. So if it would be useful, we could provide you with up to 50% of the project costs up front after you've been selected for funding. And that's key component here. You want to make sure you're not moving forward with a project until you've been notified that you've been selected for funding. We just don't want people to assume that it's going to move forward because it's a strong project, and then you're stuck holding all the bills. So wait until you've been notified before you start anything, because we don't retroactively pay for receipts and reimbursements for our project. Does that make sense? I just want to see if any questions on that part.
No, makes sense to me.
Okay, super. So proposals are due February 1, a little over a month and a half from now. Once they're in, there's a selection committee and they have a review process. And so over the month of February, they're going to be reviewing applications, meeting, ranking, coming to consensus, and selecting the strongest applicants. All the applicants are going to get notified whether they got funding or didn't by March 15th. And then we're asking people to consider projects that they can accomplish in one growing season, 1 year's time. So you're going to be aware of if you got funding on March 15th, and we are going to ask for you to be able to complete your project by the end of the year. So the end of December, that same year. Something to consider when considering the scope of a project. But if you have a big project that you know is going to take multiple years, we don't want to deter you from participating. I think one of the things that we would look at was, chances are, if it's a big project with a big timeline, it probably has a big budget. And if you wanted to chunk up a project and say, here's what I'm asking for this year, I know I can accomplish this component this year, and I have a plan to finalize the rest of it next year, and I also have the funding for that through these sources. You know, we just want it to be clear. We don't want to limit people on what they can do, but we just want it to be really clear on sort of how the projects can be used, and we can work with you around it. What are you including in your application? All right, well, you'll notice the application is broken into two parts. One is a narrative that asks us to tell you what for you to tell us rather what you're doing. And the other piece is the budget. And so here, I'll just break down quickly the narrative components, and then we can dig into it if you have any specific questions. So I want you to describe your project. That's the first question. And that's just a brief summary. Most of the time people just use like a few sentences to describe what is the project. And you'll notice here, this project description is 1,000 to 1,500 words. That's not a lot. That's a few pages. So all these questions are really meant to just be succinct and to the point. We really just want to get right down to it. We're not looking for flowery language or great grant writing skills. It's really about just being clear about your goals and how you're going to meet your goals. So describing your project is that quick summary. The second bullet is, what's the need or the opportunity this project will address? Tom, I'm going to use your example. So you have a problem, and your problem is you don't have enough cold storage and freezer space. And so that is the opportunity there. That's the need. So your need is that you don't have this. The opportunity is, if you do get it, you're going to be able to grow your production and grow your markets. I'm making some assumptions there about your business, but just as an example of what it could look like. And so just explaining that, and in any of these questions, trying to quantify it and use numbers is super helpful, because it paints a picture for the selection committee about what is the scale that they are talking about. Because otherwise, you just have to assume they don't know anything about your farm, the reviewers. Like, you may assume like, oh, I know Amanda, she understands the size of my farm. You just have to assume that the other reviewers on the committee may not know anything about your farm. And so to try to provide numbers will give them a sense of scale and where you are now versus where you're going in the future. So project goals, that's sort of where you're going. If you're successful, what will be accomplished? That's the project goals section, what we want to hear. Tasks and timeline of the project. This is the question that really helps us understand that you've thought it through. You understand the different steps that are going to be needed to achieve those goals, and you have a realistic timeline that's going to get it done by December of the project year. This next question is about your current wholesale production and distribution. So this is just like percentage of farm sales, dollar amounts if you want to give that, but we definitely want to see percentage of farm sales, because that just makes it really clear to the reviewers how much of what you do is wholesale. And then you could break down too, and then you could say, you know, and then we do the other percentage through farm stands or CSA or whatever that looks like for you. And if you want to detail too, like, who are you selling to? What is wholesale? Is this going to restaurants? Is this going to markets, institutions? Breaking any of that down, any additional details is really helpful. And then, how will this project improve your farm's ability to increase production? I think that one's pretty clear. It's just, what is it going to look like for you if this project is successful? And let's see here. This is the last part of the narrative. These are additional questions. This next one is about your capacity. Like, who on your farm is going to do this? So if it's a construction project, for example, like, are you hiring this out? Or is this something that you're going to be working on with, say, purchasing the equipment and the materials, but you're doing the labor as part of it? We just want to make sure, like, all right, if you're going to do it, you're going to be doing it, you have the skill set and the wherewithal to be able to do that. Or if you have resources in your network or other people you're going to be hiring, put that in there too. Because you can hire contractors to help out with this. We just want to make sure that they're, you know, reputable and going to help you meet your goals and be successful. The next question is more about communicating. So are you willing to work with the co-op and the conservation district, help get the word out, talk about your farm, talk about your project? It's great PR for your farm. One thing that we do for all of the successful applicants, the co-op purchases a full-page advertisement in the Monadnock Table magazine that talks about your project. So, and it's a wonderful opportunity to just get the word out. Sometimes this is Participants will host a farm tour or do other events. We'll write up their experience, share it with other farmers through workshops. This could be done in a variety of different ways, but basically we just want to hear from you, like, yes, I'm totally game to participate in these type of work. If you're not at all willing to participate, that's pretty challenging for us, because really we're about peer-to-peer learning and showing and sharing from other farms how this work can be done. So it's important for us to be able to share the information. All right, so moving forward, we want to make sure your costs are covered after the grant's completed. So, like, do you have a plan? Have you thought through equipment maintenance if we're buying new equipment? If you're buying freezers and coolers, for example, how is this going to impact your electricity bills? Are they efficient? Is it going to lower your electricity bills? Or are you ready to take on those additional expenses? We just want to make sure you've kind of thought through all the implications for your farm. That way there's no unexpected consequences that aren't welcome. So how will you know when you're successful? This is the big one. This one is where we want to see those numbers. So for example, we've had farms put in here, like, I know that if I build this storage space of X square feet, it's going to allow me to hold this much of my product, which is going to translate into this much in sales for me. And it's easier to do that with some products than others. But that's the type of metrics that we really want to see, is like, explain based on what you're doing, how is that going to help you be more productive and more profitable. And then this last one is, are there broader benefits to the community that the project offers? There may not be. It's possible that it's like, nope, this is going to benefit my farm, and the main benefit is that I'm going to have more food to sell to the community. And that could be a fine answer. We have had situations where a farmer put in freezer storage, and they said, we're going to also offer excess capacity to other farmers who want to rent it from us at a competitive, like a really good rate. And so in that way, we saw that it was a great broader community benefit to other farmers. So that was something that you could put in there. This is about the budget now. This is the last part of the presentation, so we can shift to more conversation after this. So as we talked about before, $500 to $10,000. We also want to see your full budget. So if you're building an outbuilding to help with sort of packaging or storage, for example, what's your full budget? We want to make sure you thought that through. So how does this fit into it? And then we want to better understand, how are you paying for the remaining expenses? Are you getting loans? Do you already have those loans lined up? Do you have it in your working capital on your farm? Are you ready to go because you already have this money saved? There could be a lot of answers to that. We just want to make sure you've thought it through so the project can be successful. And then you break down, there's a table in there. We're just asking you to kind of break down, what are the costs and how are you funding each one? And then in the budget table, we want to make sure the parts that you're putting in for asking for dollars from the farm fund is things that are allowable, not the farm staff hours. And then this one is key. We haven't talked about this at all. If you were going to ask for anything with like consumable items, like packaging, labels, it has to be less than 20% of your budget. So for example, if you're asking to do a new logo and you're getting all this marketing help, getting a new website, all this fun stuff to make your farm be more successful, and you say you want to get labels with all that new logo, that's fine. We'll do that one-time type of thing for consumable items, but it has to be the minority of your budget, under 20%. It's kind of like advertising that we talked about earlier with marketing. Like we want to help you get set up for success, help you level up, but we don't want to pay for these type of consumable items that would be a normal everyday expense of the farm. And then we have a place on the grant application outside of the table that you can add any additional budget justification. So basically that's where you can just write as much as you want about sort of how did you come up with these numbers that you put in your budget table. You say, if you want to explain how you did this research, and in their application, even put in quotes from the manufacturers that they're interested in purchasing from, to show they've done their homework. This is what it's going to cost. They've talked to an electrician. They told me that they think this is what's going to cost to install it. So as much detail on the budget that you can provide, and to show that you've done your homework, that it's realistic, well, especially in this time of skyrocketing prices for things, having up-to-date numbers is really, really important. And then this is just a summary here. Make sure that budget's realistic and efficient. Get quotes and estimates. Here's some things to be thinking about, to highlight when you're doing your narrative. Just keep focusing on, how is this going to show that I'm more profitable? How is this going to show that I'm expanding production, especially for wholesale markets, and that you're meeting market demand, that you've got demonstrated buyers. The last thing here is this: call me, ask me questions. We are here to help throughout as you plan. And I just want to really make that really clear, is the fact that sometimes farmers will draft up their application and they'll send it in, and I'm happy to review them and provide feedback on how they could strengthen their application. That's something that we are really welcome. We encourage you not to do it the last few days before it's due, because that's a busy time usually, because everybody waits the last minute. So you'll get better feedback if I have time to look at it. If, say, you get it to me earlier in January, then I can provide that feedback. I am not one of the people who are on the selection committee. I facilitate that. So I'm always happy to work with all of the farmers and help them strengthen their applications, because we want to see all the farm businesses have really strong applications. So I am here as a resource, and I just want that to be crystal clear for everyone. And I will now stop blathering on and open it up for questions.